Hello everyone, Bigdos is here with a Beast Mastery Hunter guide for patch 9.1. Today's guide will be divided in multiple sections. We will start with the stat department, then the talent build I am using in Mythic Plus, and possible changes that you can make depending on tyrannical or fortified. We are also covering the covenants, soulbinds, and which conduits you can take. Then we will discuss legendaries and the options that you have. At the end of the video we will take a look at the rotation and how to use your abilities and cooldowns. Before we start off, I want to tell you guys that the upcoming information is based on experience and guides like Wowhead, Icy Veins and Method. Those guides are the backbone of the information that I will share. I suggest you guys read up on those. The links are in the comment section below. Furthermore, I want to thank everyone for the feedback that I'm getting on my content. It helps me become better, so thank you for that. And now, without further ado, let's start with the stats. And imagine a nice segue right here. Alright, stat-wise. Stat-wise, you want to go for main stats, or agility in our case, first. Or item level, because most of the items go with a higher agility if your item level goes higher. After that, you want crit or haste, and that will be depending on the guide that you follow. For example, Method or Icy Veins. They are not consistent on which stat is better. I personally prefer to go for crit first and haste second. At the moment, my haste is fairly low, 16%, and that is a little too low for what I prefer, so I want to balance these out a little bit more. Mastery looks high, but it's actually not. That is because as a Beast Mastery Hunter you have pretty high mastery from the start. So you go crit first, haste second, then versatility, and lastly you go for mastery. And with that we go to the talents. Let's see, talents. In the first row you want to go for Animal Companion, because we're a Beast Mastery Hunter, so who doesn't want more animals? This talent also gives the overall highest DPS increase. Dire Beast gives you another button to press, which can be fun because we have a fairly easy spec, but the overall damage output is lower. Killer Instinct will give you an execute damage, and so perhaps it's good in raids. I'm not entirely sure, I'm not raiding all too much. And this is a talent I'm thinking about using in like a single target build, which I will tell you about more later on in the video. In the second row, we take Sand of Blood. Sand of Blood makes it a much smoother rotation for the uptime of Trail of the Hunt, which is in our fourth row, but we will come there soon. One with the pack will increase we will probably use this more when we have higher crit rating. But for now, early on in 9.1, we will probably be using Scent of Blood. I don't know at what percentage you should go for one with the pack, but I think later on it will be used more. It will be used more, simply like that. Then we still have Chimera Shot in this row. Chimera Shot deals a decent amount of damage on a 1 to 2 pack scenario, but in Mythic Plus, and I'm focusing on Mythic Plus here, it's not really the case. So you should go for Scent of Blood. This will just smoothen out your rotation by a long shot, so just go for that. In the third row, I personally prefer Natural Mending. Hunters have a problem that they don't have enough defensive capabilities. By choosing this talent, you just have that little bit of extra heal once in a while. I think it's nice. Trailblazer, your movement speed is increased by 30% anytime you have not attacked for 3 seconds. This is nice, but when actually are you not attacking in Mythic Plus, for example? It's never really gonna happen. You're always running from pack to pack, and um, You don't really need it. Perhaps on, like, for example, Halls of Atonement or the other side where you have in between time between packs, you could use this. So on one of those dungeons, it it might be worth taking. Camouflage. Someone pointed that out in the comment section earlier. He made a good point. If you use a camouflage, you don't really need to use a stealth pot. And using a stealth pot will put your cooldowns or your pots on cooldown. So if I use, for example, Hidden Spirit right here, then you can see my potion of spectral agility goes on cooldown as well, which is a DPS increase if I use it during a pull. So you could say, arguably, that using camouflage is a DPS increase because you have more uptime on your spectral agility flask or potion. Then on the fourth row, we have Spitting Cobra. Spitting Cobra sounds really nice, but first of all, the Cobra that you summon, his damage is decreased by 35% if you use Animal Companion. Because using Animal Companion reduces the damage of all pets to balance things out, of course. So using these two in conjunction is never a great idea. Besides that, you will need to use a lot of Cobra shots to increase the damage of your Spitting Cobra. It might be something for like a single target thing, but I'm not really sure about that. On this row, as stated earlier, I'm going for Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt gives you an increasing critical strike chance by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up 3 times, so in total 9% crit. I personally like the playstyle of Thrill of the Hunt because it gives us something to manage as Beast Mastery hunters, and in combination with Scent of Blood, and you will see this in the rotation part of this video. If you use these two, you can get up to 9% really quickly, and then yeah, you have some more crit to work with, more barb shots you gain, and while using more barb shots, you gain more bestial rats, which will give you in turn more barb shots as well. So it works all perfectly together. Murder of Crows in this talent, it gives you another button to press, so as just as Dire Beast. The sad part is the damage is not that great, and you might make it work because if the target dies when Murder of Crows is still active, so you have a 15-second window to kill the target, then it resets the cooldown and then you can use it again. Maybe by perfectly using this, by getting the reset every time, you may outperform Thrill of the Hunt, but I don't think that is likely to happen. On the fifth row, this is a personal preference, just like the third row. I personally like a binding shot because it will help your tank to kite. Because you shoot it and mobs are rooted in place for 8 seconds if they move from the place where you shot the arrow. As you can see in a lot of scenarios in Mythic Plus where the tank starts kiting from Necrotic, for example, you just shoot this down and the tank can easily just walk away and don't have to panic so much. Of course, when you have a Demon Hunter tank, you still should use this, but a Demon Hunter tank, of course, doesn't have that problem so much. For example, a Protection Paladin who has more issues with kiting. You should definitely use the binding shot, I think. Post haste, the extra movement speed is nice, and getting out of roots. For example, in Necrotic Wake, when you have the on the last boss you get rooted, you can use this, but I don't think it goes over Binding Shot in Mythic Plus. Born to be Wild, reduce the cooldown aspect of the cheetah and aspects of the turtle by 20%. Mm, you're not gonna really use this in Mythic Plus, perhaps in raids where you can use turtle more oftenly, so you can soak more mechanics from boss fights. There it could be useful. There you don't really need the binding shot. Perhaps you should use post haste in that scenario because you can just move around a little more easily. That's just whatever you want. Um, on the sixth row, I'm using Stomp. This fits well with my playstyle and me aiming for as much crit as I can and getting higher crit. And let me show you uh, really quickly. Your auto shot's critical strike have a 20% chance to reset the cooldown of Barbed shot. That is wild call. And so the higher crit you have, the higher chance you have for your auto shots to crit and for your auto shot crits to reset the cooldown of Barbed shot. So, for example, if you have wild call, the one with the pack talent, this goes up to 40% chance. But you need a high amount of crit. Coming back to the stomp talent, when you shoot a barbed shot, your pets just stomp the ground at that point, which will be dealing a lot of physical damage in an AoE. And this is, I think it's uncapped. So multi-shot is capped at 5 targets, I think. Yeah, fire several missiles hitting up to 5 targets, while stomp to all nearby enemies. So probably uncapped. Don't pin me on that one though. So going for more crit means more barbed shots, means more stomp. Easy. Barrage. Barrage deals a nice amount of damage. The downside is that this talent you should be aiming it very carefully, because we all have seen those hunters that pop barrage and just start pulling half the dungeon because they don't know what they're aiming at, and more so, barrage also costs 60 focus, so you should really be aware of the amount of focus that you have, so you can use this on cooldown. Stampede. I would really love to use Stampede. It's a 2-minute cooldown which deals a massive amount of damage, but the damage of Stampede is just not enough to outweigh the other two abilities. Besides that, as a BM hunter, we are not really going for all too much, how do you say that? All too much burst damage. We're more of a consistent damage every pull. And Stomp is just better at that than Stampede. If you'd like to use Stampede, you should definitely use it um, with Bestial Wrath active, because it increases the damage of Stampede big time. On the last row, I am using Aspect of the Beast. This increases the damage and healing of all your pets by 30% and their respective family abilities as well. Those abilities by 50% even. So more leech, more movement speed, or more max HP. Um, Killer Cobra. This talent is, out of these two, Killer Cobra and Bloodshed, those are more single target focused. Killer Cobra is something you should be running for raids, because they're it's just better on single target fights. I don't know too much about raiding at the moment, so I don't know which bosses are a pure one boss fight. But on those boss fights, you should use Killer Cobra. On the other boss fights, you should use Aspect of the Beast. Killer Cobra is something I want to use in Mythic Plus on what's it called? I think it's Tyrannical, the boss week at least, because that way you have more time with bosses, so more single target. And I'm thinking about using, like, for example, Killer Cobra, perhaps Killer Instinct, and maybe even Spitting Cobra, but I'm not really sure. Something like this for boss weeks with a legendary I will be talking about soon. Let's put these back before I start a Mythic Plus and do something stupid. There we go. So this is the build that I'm using for Mythic Plus. Now, before we continue on to Covenants, if you like this video, please consider leaving a like and perhaps subscribing to the channel. It's something I really enjoy doing, and If you guys have any comments, advice, feedback, I would love to hear it. Write it down in the comments. I try and read them all. I don't get a lot, so it's fairly easy to read them all at the moment. But please consider that. Beside that, I'm trying to put out a video every Monday and Friday. That way, you guys can see some of my videos. Oh, got a dry mouth of all the talking. So let's go on to the covenants. First and foremost, you should play whatever covenant you like. As you can see, I'm in the Kyrian area as of right now. But if you like Necrolord BM Hunter, then by all means just play that. It's a game after all, but if you want to min-max, then you should either go for Kyrian or Night Fae for Mythic Plus, and you should go for Venthyr for PvP. I don't know too much about PvP. I'm really terrible at it, so uh, I have no means of saying anything useful about that. For the main difference between Night Fae and Kyrian, for as I can see and what I read, is the burst. Night Fae deals a lot of more burst damage with your Wild Spirits ability, while the Kyrian Covenant ability, Resonating Arrow, is there it is a 1 minute cooldown, and just you have it up more often, which will make every pack go more smoothly. So yeah, that's something I'm aiming for. I swapped from Night Fae to Kyrian going into 9.1. Sometimes I regret doing it because it's nice to see you pop off on the meters with way higher DPS than the rest because, well, you're bursting like crazy. Um, but in the overall damage, as a BM hunter, especially as Kyrian, you slowly creep up on those that on the first pull they just out DPS you, and then slowly over the dungeon you start to pull up and eventually surpass them because you deals significant amount of damage every pull. So that's something I personally like about BM hunters. Um, and then we'll see about the soulbinds and conduits. Um, let's see here. Oh wait, can I do that from here? Yeah, for Kyrian, you should either go for Forge Line Mechanicos or Pelagos. As of releasing this video, the last talent, renown 55 or even 57, you can't really use them yet. Here's another hunter popping off against this nice stalwart guardian. Let's fly somewhere else. There we go. We don't really know which one is going to be better out of these two. We're not sure yet. But according to guides, it looks like Pelagos is going to be better because this will, the last talent of Pelagos, when you face your doubt, you will gain 10% agility and 10% stamina for 15 seconds, which is, of course, a massive, massive buff. Getting 10% agility, which is the stat you are aiming for. I personally think I'm going for Forge Light Mechanicos because Forge Light Mechanicos will give, if you shoot your resonating arrow, it will reduce the cooldown of resonating arrow by 4 seconds for every affected enemy to a maximum of 20 seconds. So that means if you hit 5 targets, and there are a lot of pulls where you hit 5 targets in one go, your 1 minute cooldown goes back to a 40-second cooldown. And so, as I stated earlier, our DPS is really based on doing as much every pull. Well, every DPS tries to do as much in every pull, but sometimes they keep their cooldowns for bigger pulls, and we can use them every pull. So I'm going for the Ifuse Anima Accelerator. accelerator, I think it's pronounced. I'm not sure. Um, so that's why I'm going for this one. On the night phase part, first of all, I can't edit like a nice screen right now with the night phase stuff. Besides that, I don't really know for sure. I think you should go Naya or Korin, but I don't know why you should go for which. So I suggest you guys look up if you are a Night Fae hunter and you want to play that. I suggest you go onto the sites I said earlier and just check that out for yourself. Looking at conduits, because conduits are a big part. First off, on if you go for mechanicos like me, on the first one you want to go for enfeebled mark. This will increase your damage inside your resonating arrow by 11% for me at the moment, as I have a 213 item level, and this goes up by quite some bit. So go for that one first. I personally really don't like. I, I don't like this one because this will, when on 35% or lower, it will automatically pop a vial of Serenity. I don't like it because that way, when I get like a bleed from one of the generals on in Mythic Plus, that bleed hurts very much. So I like to remove that bleed with the vial of Serenity. But if I got reduced under 35% before we do that general, right before, then my vial of Serenity is on cooldown. I don't really like this, but we don't have too many potency slots, so I'm still running with this. Then we have a reversal of fortune, which increases if we interrupt, which increases our focus or grants us some focus. You should definitely always interrupt, so it's free focus, free real estate. Here we go. Regenerating materials, casting or receiving healing as a chance to improve your remaining durability on your armor. Whatever, which one of these two you want, you can take them. Um, then on our first endurance conduit, this is my highest item level, but it's also something I like. Condensed anima sphere. When you take damage, you heal for a 4.25% of your max HP, and this can only occur once every 10 seconds. So when we take damage, we heal just a little. It's a nice little thing to have. Um, then and here comes the tricky part. I think you can either take this potency conduit and have like a useless slot here, or you can take this endurance conduit and have a good one right here. Um, but yeah, it's one of the two. Um, because well, you want to actually get the potency slot, because then you can take, for example, one with the beast, which increases all damage you and your pet deal by an additional 4% for me uh, in bestial wrath. This is really good, but then I get this one, which if I stand still for 5 seconds, the incoming stun and incapacitate durations are reduced by 15%. Well, great, but I don't really need this. So I'm going for this one. I take the resilience of the hunter. If I feign that, the damage is reduced by 6.2% for 8 seconds. As you can see in multiple of my videos, I do this quite a lot, so I try to reduce as much as I can. I personally like the Hammer of Genesis. Damaging a new enemy grants you 3% haste for 10 seconds. So if a pool has 5 enemies in them, on the pool, you gain 15% extra haste for 10 seconds. This just smoothens out the overall pool. So that's why I'm using this talent. Then we go for another potency conduit. Here you can, if you go with this route, you can go either one with the beast or bloodletting. I'm using bloodletting right here. The barbed shot's recharge time is reduced by 1 second and its damage is increased by 8 seconds. Um, the recharge time by 1 second is really nice because that way our barbed shot recharge time is a little lower, makes it a little more smoothly pulling and just keeping up your Thrill of the Hunt stacks. So that's why I'm running with that talent. I think when you go up higher with crit and haste, especially I think haste, because haste reduces the cooldown of Barbed Shot as well, then eventually you can swap out Bloodletting with one with the Beast if you follow this row. Otherwise you have one with the Beast here, and then it doesn't matter which how your stats are divided. Here you have a reactive retrofitting for an absorb shield, but this shield is so incredibly low. You shouldn't go for this. And the Soul Glow Spectrometer, this one is amazing. You will deal 1% increased damage every 3 seconds, and in total to 5% increased damage on one target. And this just keeps on going. So you gain 1%, and after 3 seconds you have 2%, and then 3, 4, 5, and then it resets to 1. But still, you keep up the damage increased. So this is just an amazing talent. On the last endurance conduit slot, I'm going for rejuvenating wind to increase the additional heal of exhilaration. You could go for Harmony of the Turtolin to decrease the aspect of the turtle cooldown, which is also great. Because I'm at the moment using natural mending and so using more exhilarations, I think I will have more benefits um, of the rejuvenating wind. So that's why I go for that one when I have it unlocked, which I don't have at the moment. Alright, then we go for legendaries, because that were the conduits I could tell you about. Let's see, legendaries. For me, I am using the Rylike Stalker's Piercing Fangs. This increases the critical damage dealt by your pet by 35%. And because we are going for crit, going for more barbed shots, more barbed shot means lower cooldown on your bestial wrath, which in turn increases the uptime of bestial wrath, so which increases the usefulness of your Rylikes. Easy. It's not that complicated. The other legendary you could use is Soulforge Embers. Here you just throw out a tar trap, then put a flare in it, and it deals AoE ticking damage. Soulforge Embers, the overall damage is I think higher at the moment than Rylike's, but as our crit increases, the the gap between them is going to be smaller and smaller. Besides that, Soulforge needs to be played perfectly. You can throw out 2 flares in one tar trap, so effectively doubling the damage or from that trap. But the downside of this is your tank needs to be standing still with the mobs in your Soulforge Embers, in your trap. But on weeks like Necrotic, Sanguine, or Bolstering, where your tank needs to kite, he's gonna move out of it eventually. And so you will lose out on damage on this. While Rylax, you're never gonna lose the damage. It's there. It's a passive thing. But if you want to complicate your rotation, because BM is quite easy, and you think, well, I want to up the difficulty a bit, then by all means go for Soulforge Embers. Pact of the Soul Stalker. I don't think this is your Covenant specific legendary. I don't think this legendary really is any good at all. It increases the critical strike chance of your party by 10%. I'm not really sure if this will find any good use ever. Like I said earlier, I'm thinking about using like a single target build for boss weeks sometimes. And for that, I want to go for Dire Command. Dire Command will give your kill command a 30% chance to also summon a Dire Beast to attack your target. And this goes really well with Killer Cobra, because when you beast your Wrath, your Cobra shot reduces the resets the cooldown, sorry, on kill command. So you will do like Cobra shot, kill command, Cobra shot, kill command, and so this increases the chance for you to summon a dire beast uh, from your legendary. This combined with perhaps Killer Instinct, where your kill command deals 50% increased damage against enemies below 35%, might work out really, really great. Also, I don't know if the Dire Beast that is summoned through Dire Command also gets its damage reduced by 35% because you're using Animal Companion. That's why I think you should perhaps swap this out as well. But that is something I haven't tried out yet. I haven't created the legendary, but it's something I'm considering doing just for shits and giggles and see how it works. And then lastly, we'll be talking about the rotation and the cooldown usage. So for this, um, let's put up another screen really quickly. Let's see. I'm gonna I don't have the editing skill, so I'm just gonna simply put out WordPad for here. What you should do, you should start with multi-shot or kill command, multi-shot on EOE and kill command on single target. You just pop it out there, and that way your pets are in combat right away. Why is that? Because you want your pets at the enemy the moment you use your Barbed shot, because they will stomp at that place. If you use Barbed shot first, your pets will stomp at where you are standing, which is not doing anything, perhaps kill a critter. So you multi-shot or kill command, sending your pets at the target. Then you use aspects of the wild with pots and trinkets. You do a double barbed shot if you are using the scent of blood talent. So you want to dump both barbed shots in before using bestial wrath, because then you get 2 barbed shots back. Otherwise, it's a waste. Then after you pumped in both barbed shots, you use bestial wrath. After that, you use resonating arrow, you barbed shot, and then you go multi-shot or kill command. And then you just go onto your normal rotation, and your normal rotation should be aiming for keeping kill command off cooldown, keeping your kill shot off cooldown, and never letting yourself cap on two stacks on barbed shot. So, say for this instance, we're gonna go on a boss fight. I send in, and you can see it down here, and I'll do it really slowly. I'll send in my pets, then I'll pop my aspect of the wild and my trinkets. Then I do a double barbed shot. I go for kill command, resonating arrow, kill command, barbed shot. And now I'm gonna spend my focus in keeping up my stacks here, as you can see, using kill command off cooldown. It's gonna drop out. I'm resetting it. Kill command off cooldown. I have 2 Cobra shots, not letting it drop. 2 Cobra shots to reduce the cooldown of kill command. There we go. That was 1. Another barbed shot. Bestial Rats off cooldown. Use that again. Never let it stack, so use 1. And this is what we do. 2 kill command. And that's it. And we're gonna dismiss our pets. There we go. And that's what you do in your AoE rotation, or in your single target rotation. If you do the same thing for AoE, then what you want to do is use a multi-shot every 4 seconds. I'll show you. There you go. Here you can see it as well. To keep up beast cleave. Don't use multi-shot, 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 because it costs a lot of focus, and the damage is really poor. The damage from your AoE comes from a little bit multi-shot, but mostly from beast cleave. So don't do that. And then lastly, um, just a little bit of extra. If you have 12 seconds or less on your bestial wrath and you have one stack of barbed shot, then use that one so you gain a reset on your bestial wrath. That's something to help you increase your damage by a little. Something way more important is to please spread out the dots of your barbed shot. I see so many BM hunters um, doing less damage with barbed shot than necessary because they just have their mind focused on one target and just like, I'm gonna spam this one and let my pets AoE with stomp, but I don't put out the bleed on different targets. Now let me explain that to you in the most simple manner as I can. Um, these numbers, by the way, what I'm gonna say are not correct, but it's easy to understand that way. So let's say one barbed shot, it takes 8 seconds. It's a bleed of 8 seconds. So say it deals over the 8 seconds, it deals 8,000 damage, which we'll say is 1,000 damage per second. Yes? So you deal with one barb shot, you deal 8,000 damage. Now, if you keep using barb shot on the same target, so you put a barb shot on, and after 3 seconds, you refresh your barb shot. So let's say uh, with the same numbers, after those 3 seconds, you did 3,000 damage. Then you barb shot again, and you let it run the entire run, so that's 8 seconds. So you have 3 seconds and 8 seconds, which is a total of 11,000 damage. But if you spread those dots over 2 targets, you did the 8 seconds on both, then it's 16,000 damage. Now, let's say you do it on when you use 3 barbed shots, and you do it on either on one target or 3 targets. So let's say on one target you do 8,000. You do the barbed shot. After 3 seconds you reset it, so that's 3,000 damage. Then you do a barbed shot again, and after 3 seconds you reset it again. So that's another 3,000 damage. So at that point you did 6,000 damage. Then you do your third barbed shot, let it run all the way through, so 8,000 damage. Yes, so that is 6,000 plus 8,000, so that would be 14,000 damage. Math, yes. But if you spread out those dots on 3 different targets, you would have done 24,000 damage. So almost doubling, well, close to doubling the amount of damage that you could have dealt if you would simply swap targets and start multi-dotting. So please, BM hunters, if you're watching this video and you're not doing that because you're simply just bumping all your barbed shots in one target, please don't do that. If you take something away from this video, please let it be that. And with that, I want to end this video. I want to thank you guys all for watching. I really enjoyed making these. If you like this, if you've learned something from it, anything at all, just let me know. Put it in the comment sections. Consider leaving a like or subscribing. I'm gonna try and put out videos every Monday and Friday. I made some guides before, but there's a lot of room for improvement on those. So I will be maybe remaking those later on in 9.1. Besides that, I'm gonna do some more live commentary videos with some just background music and just me talking about what I'm doing and just some overall easy content where I am trying to grow in my IO score. I'm currently at 1932. I want to go up to 2200 to 2500, so I will be putting out some videos about the growth in that. So everyone, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.